Welcome back, everybody. So today I'm going to do a video for you guys on flying with knives and guns and such. If you've been watching the channel for a little while, at least the last few videos, you'll know that I recently took a trip to Maui and it was a lot of fun. But just like my normal everyday life, I wanted to have knives with me. Now, Hawaii's gun laws are different and unique and bad, so I didn't end up taking a gun with me, but I wanted to at least have my knives. So I'm going to talk to you guys about how I did that and just my general checklist and rules, if you will, for when I go flying with certain items that the TSA doesn't necessarily like. So let's just get into that. First of all, this is not going to be an all-inclusive video going over all the rules TSA has. I'm not a lawyer anyway, and they have all that information readily available on the TSA website. So if you're curious about the specifics and the ins and outs, go there and do some research. It's far better, honestly, than just having me spew it all off to you anyway. So that being said, if you're going to, let's get this out. It is legal to fly with firearms and knives and ammunition. You just have to check them. And the first time you do it, it's scary. It's, holy crap, I'm giving my guns to the TSA and then to the airline baggage handlers. Really? I'm never going to see this thing again. I've never lost a firearms case with the TSA. Or the airline for that matter. It is a possibility. I'm sure it has happened to people, but I've flown dozens of times with guns and it's never happened to me personally. That being said, you can take out insurance on your firearms. I have an insurance policy on all of my firearms. You can also, obviously if the airline loses it, well, then the airline has to pay to replace it. So it's a good idea to keep pictures and descriptions and serial numbers and all that stuff of your guns, the accessories and modifications and stuff you've done to them, so that you can be reimbursed what it's actually worth so you can replace it. Now, that being said, because you have to check these and they are firearms, there are a few nuances to this. You can't just use your standard flimsy plastic case that came with your hunting rifle. The TSA specifically requires that you use a firearms case that cannot be pried or otherwise gotten access to. That was grammatically awesome, but all right. You have to use a case that can't be pried open, that people can't get access to. So your soft cases, your flimsy from the factory plastic cases, cardboard boxes, all that stuff, out. Not going to happen. There's a few brands of cases out there that are TSA compliant. My favorite are Pelican cases. This is my handgun one, honestly, because it's the smallest and it fits the best on camera with me in the frame. This is the one I prefer, the brand I prefer to use. Now, Pelican cases are not expensive, and I have 3 of them. I'm sorry, they're not cheap. They're very expensive. However, this thing, I've flown with this probably more than any other case that I've ever had, and it's worked out great. It's got some nicks and some scuffs, and the stickers get a little torn and crap like that, but the case holds up. I mean, I haven't had any functional issues. None of the hinges have broken, the latches haven't broken, the lock hasps haven't broken. It's got a rubber seal, and it's also got a pressure relief valve on it, so changing pressures from one location to another or just going up and down in altitude in a plane, you're not going to have an overpressure situation in your case. Specifically, the TSA, what they will do, and I've had this happen before, they will take your case with the locks on it, whatever locks you choose to put on it, they will undo all of the latches and they will try to pry it open to see if it meets their guidelines. If they can reach in and touch anything inside the case, it doesn't meet guidelines. And you're not going to be able to fly with it, unfortunately. The nice thing, though, about flying with guns is you're not supposed to use TSA-approved locks. You're supposed to use locks that are normal, like decent locks. I like master locks. I've got a bunch of those. That's what I typically use. Yes, you can pick a lock, but yeah, you put whatever lock on there you want to put on there, and you keep the key. If it's a combination lock, you keep the combination. You are not to give those things to anybody in TSA. I've had this happen before too, where they wanted to call me back and open up my case and look inside it because I had it stuffed to the rim with a bunch of stuff, not just guns, and they couldn't tell what was what when they scanned it. So they called me back into their little like baggage check area. There was a rope, kind of like the guidance lanes at the McDonald's counter. There's one of those. I stood on the other side of that, took my key, handed it to them, and I had to be there and watch them as they opened my case and went through everything. They shut it, locked it back, made sure everything was back inside it, locked it back, and handed me the key back. And then I went about my merry way. This brings up a good point. Yes, it can be more of a hassle to fly with guns. I'm not going to tell you it's not, but it can be. So keep that in mind and factor it into your calculus for when you take your trips. For me, it's worth it because when I get where I'm going, if I can legally carry a gun, I have a gun with me. And even if I can't, in the situation of Hawaii, I can still take my knives. So let's jump into some other benefits of flying with firearms, and then I'm going to walk you guys through my procedure, if you will, from the time I get to the airport to the time I pick up my bag. All right, so what other reasons might you want to fly with firearms? Even if you're, not a concealed carry guy or gal, you only have hunting rifles or 22s or something like that. Do you fly with knives? Do you fly with expensive electronics that you can't necessarily keep in your carry-on bag? Do you have other sentimental items that you just really want to make sure get protected? Well, flying with firearms or something similar to a firearm is your ticket. The reason I say that is when I went to Hawaii, like I said, I didn't take a gun, but I still flew with this thing. Now, if there's not a gun in the case, then this falls into all of the other baggage situations, I guess, that the TSA has. This is just like your luggage with your underwear in it. Like, they can open it and go through it because there's not a gun in it. But if you look at TSA guidelines, they specifically require replicas, anything that looks like a weapon, not a knife because that's a tool, but decommissioned hand grenade, like desk paperweights, reproduction guns for like a reenactment or something, even a child's toy gun. If it looks like a gun, it looks like an explosive or anything like that that can cause, whatever crap people are worried about, then it has to be secured just as if it were a real firearm. So if you have a training handgun, which is what I took with me to Hawaii, it's a Beretta M9 lookalike, made by Blackhawk, just a plastic gun. Like, anybody can take 2 seconds and look at this thing and go, oh, that's not a real gun. Like, the trigger doesn't move, the hammer doesn't move, the slide doesn't move. It's just a piece of plastic, but it looks like a gun. So it has to travel the same way a gun does. So that meant I was able to put my knives, my, whatever expensive things I was going to take with me in here, and I didn't have to just throw them in my checked baggage and hope that TSA didn't steal them. That was my solution for that problem, and I know other people use that same solution as well. Even if you can't fly with a gun, this still has to travel like a gun with locks on it that you maintain control over, and you are much less likely to lose those items. Somebody would have to steal or lose the case in order for you to lose those items. So, something else to think about. Sorry. Now let's talk about what do I do when I get to the airport. How do I do this whole thing? All right, guys. So like I said, I've done this quite a few times, and I wanted to, I guess, pass on a little bit of that experience with you. So the first thing I do when I'm going to take a trip on a plane is the night before, I will grab my Pelican case, grab whatever knives I'm going to take. If I'm taking a gun with me or multiple guns, I put that in there. Magazines, even ammunition. Now, ammunition is going to be different. I'm not going to cover that topic too in depth in this video, but you can fly with ammunition. The guns obviously have to be unloaded and all that. Check TSA's website and check with your airline, because sometimes the airline guidance is more strict than the TSA guidance. But check with them on how you can fly with ammo. The one time that I did that, I unloaded all of my magazines, put them all in the case. I put all the ammo loosely, just dropped it into a cardboard box, and then I taped the cardboard box completely, every square centimeter of it, with duct tape, and then just put it in the case. But yeah, throw all the things you're gonna put in the case. Make sure you have good locks on the case, and test it yourself. Make sure you can't pry it open with the latches undone and the locks on, because if your lock necks, or whatever that curvy part is called, sorry, not a locksmith, if that's too long, you can have a case that's TSA approved, but they can still reach in and grab something in your case, and you won't be able to use that case. So test it out yourself. Throw everything in it, lock it up. When you get to the airport, now because of understanding security and doing it several times, I will have everything out of my pockets except for my ID when I get to the counter. Go up, check my bags, do the whole thing. And the first thing I say when I get to the counter to check my bags is, I need to declare a firearm or something. I'm checking in and I need to declare a firearm. Make sure you say, I need to declare a firearm. The reason for that is legally, you have to declare the gun. They have to know it's a gun. Now, most of them are smart enough to realize, and they've seen it enough times, that this is a gun case. There's a gun in that. I've had a bunch of them ask me before I was able to tell them that I had a gun. Is that a gun? Yes. Make sure you tell them and be upfront with them. You're not doing anything illegal. You're not doing anything wrong or shady. So there's no reason to be nervous about it. You put it down on the scale. They'll weigh it, do their whole thing. They'll give you a little orange card. It's a declaration of firearms or something like that card. And it has a bunch of legalese on it. The gun's unloaded, this and that, whatever. Read over the card. Sign it, date it. They may have to sign it or something, so don't just put it in the case unless they tell you to, but then you'll put it inside the case. It has to go in the case with the firearms, and it has to be signed by you. From there, you can close it up, lock it up. They'll take it, do their normal, baggage assembly line, whatever thing, and it goes from there. Whatever magic happens behind the curtain at the airport. And that's it. That is the only difference with checking a firearm versus checking your luggage with your underwear in it. You have to tell them it's a firearm. From there, sometimes they've had me go straight from the check-in counter. They'll take my other luggage. They'll take me over to a TSA check place where they'll, again, take it behind a rope and they'll swab it for explosives and stuff, which that's another interesting one, because I'm always like, there are guns in there, and I use these to take my guns to the range too, so it's very possible that there is like gunpowder residue on that case. Wonder how well this is gonna go. But I've never had it pop positive in the machine or anything like that, so no concerns there. I did have it one time, had it happen to me, where the lady at the check-in counter had me actually handle my guns in front of her and actually open them up and show her that they were all unloaded. It was a little bit weird and awkward because there was a long line of people behind me waiting to check in, and that was a little bit weird for me. But I did it. Obviously, this is where you have to be very, 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 very careful. You're getting down on their little scale thing next to the case. You're very low, making sure that they can see what you're doing, keeping the gun pointed in a safe direction, finger off the trigger, all the different things to show that they're unloaded. Like I said, it's only happened once, and that was really weird. I think she may just not have known what she was doing, but hell, I don't know. Maybe they were doing some extra security thing that day, and I just happened to be lucky enough to fly with guns. Anyway, yeah, they take it, they send it back, it goes on the plane. And then when I go through security, normal TSA security stuff, right? Then when you land, that's the other piece of this that can be different. They will tell you that firearms cases will always come off of the truck and go straight to the airline office, and you have to go there and show your ID to claim it. That is most of the time, bullshit. I think I've had, in all the trips I've taken with firearms cases, I've had 3 or 4 times where they actually came off and I had to go to the office to claim them. The other times, they would just come out on the conveyor with everybody else's luggage. So my standard operating procedure for when I get to the baggage claim carousel, first of all, I try to get there far before the carousel starts up, which, let's be honest, that's not really that hard to do because airlines are usually pretty slow about getting bags off, right? And then I just stand there as close as I can get to where all the bags come out. Right after, whatever direction it's turning, I will stand right there, so that people don't have a chance to grab my case before I do. Because like I said, most of the time it comes off, especially the pistol case, because it fits, it looks the right size. The rifle cases more often will get pulled and taken to the airline office, but I still stay at the baggage claim until it has stopped sending people's bags out and it's clearly done. I've gotten my other bags. There's not people hovered around it waiting for their bags to come out. And then once that's happened, if I haven't gotten my firearms case, I will go to the airline office and say, hey, I had a firearm, I need to pick it up, show your ID, it's not a big deal. Sometimes they'll also bring them out to the baggage claim and they'll start looking around for people who recognize the case and go, oh, is this yours? Yeah, let me see an ID, okay. And that's what happened to me coming back here from Maui. They brought it over to where I was standing. So either way, just don't believe that they're going to take it off the line every time, because they're not. Yeah, that's just the way it is. One last piece of advice I'll give you: don't open the case in the airport. Once you've picked it up from baggage claim, don't open it. Wait till you get out to your car or your Uber or your, whatever you're going to be leaving the airport in. And if it's public transportation, like a shuttle bus, probably don't open it then either. Wait till you're in a more secluded, private place before you open up this case. It can be a little nerve-wracking sometimes to fly with guns, especially if you're not tracking your bags using your airline's app and your little bag tag or something like that. But like I said, I've never lost mine. I've never had any hugely significant issues. There was one time I was taking a flight and had connections and stuff, and my connection got delayed, or one of my flights got delayed, to the point where I was going to have to wait somewhere like 5 or 6 more hours to catch the next flight, but the place I was going was 3 hours away. So I went to the airline and said, no, this is your guys' fault that I missed my connection. So I want my bags, and you're going to buy me a shuttle ticket to drive me to that final airport so I can leave from there, because that's where my vehicle was. And they did. They gave me a shuttle ticket. They pulled my bags and gave them to me. But there were 2 bags that didn't come out. In fact, the only thing that did come out was this case. And I was flying with 2 firearms cases at that point. So my actual luggage and my rifle case had both made the flight that I missed, because airlines don't seem to understand that you should fly people's baggage with them and not just, oh, hey, it's here, but they're not, so we're going to throw it on a plane to send it where. No, that's stupid. Don't do that. Don't do that. If you work for an airline, if you have pulled an airline, don't do that. Fly people's stuff with them. Get off my soapbox. Anyway, so I was like, okay, they're telling me that it's already at my final destination. Well, I guess I'm going there anyway, so we'll see. And then I get to that airport, and this is one of those super tiny, like they have 1 gate and they have like 3 flights a day kind of airports. I get there on the shuttle, and I walk in, and I'm looking around for somebody at the airline counter, somebody at the security desk, nobody. Place is a ghost town. I had to wait at that airport for the next like 3 hours. So basically, the flight that they wanted me to take, like the 8, 6, however much longer later flight to my final destination that I said no to, I had to wait till that came in for somebody else to get there to open up the back area and give me my stuff. That was really frustrating, and I was very angry. That was United, by the way. I'll say that. United, not a fan. But even then, I got my stuff and everything was fine. So kind of a long-winded video. I had a couple of tangents here. If you've been watching the channel for a while, you're used to that. So thanks for sticking around. I appreciate it. I wanted to put this out there for your guys' information. Like I said, I've done this several times. It's been a nerve-wracking experience more than once, but the more I've done it, the more comfortable I've gotten with flying with guns. And you can also use it as kind of a life hack to fly with other things that you don't want TSA getting their grubby mitts on. So I hope you guys either found the video informative or entertaining, or maybe both. I don't know. But if you did and you liked it, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button on the video. If you know somebody that flies a lot and has always been nervous about flying with guns or doesn't really understand the process or anything like that, share the video with them. You know, it'll help the channel out, and maybe it'll help your friend out or your family member out too. So thanks again for watching, guys. Y'all take it easy, roll tide, and I'll see you later.